It's amazing how we get new hardware, promising new, innovative titles from first and third party studios with claims of doing spectacular things that old hardware couldn't do. Yet, with all that fancy new tech, we see more regression than progression. But I know one studio that has produced quality titles from a series that seems to get better with each new release: the Yakuza series. The Yakuza series has grown over the years. After its debut in 2006 with Yakuza 1, the series struggled to make a real impact with gamers. It had its audience, sure, but not on a grand scale like other game series. But in 2015, Yakuza 0 has changed all that. Now the series has hit its stride within the gaming space, becoming more popular than ever before. However, while the series has gained popularity over the years, it's far from a juggernaut like, say, The Last of Us or Gears of War. But the Yakuza series has important qualities that those games are lacking. Allow me to do my best to explain why the Yakuza games are what other games should strive to be like. This video won't be a retrospective or a history lesson on the Yakuza series. Instead, this is a Yakuza fan who appreciates what RGT Studio does, which is deliver on what gamers want and knows what they will get when they buy a Yakuza or Judgment game. Because RGT Studio actually gives fans what they want. You know, something Volition and other devs simply seem unable to do. While there are a vast amount of quality games ranging from AA to AAA, my focus here is mainly on the AAA games because they should be leading the industry, but many AAA studios are too busy releasing broken games focused on promoting political agendas and hand-holding the player, while somehow missing basic features from past games such as the ability to manually jump and favor slow walking segments that are better off being cutscenes. While the Yakuza games tend to shower you in cutscenes, they make sure to fill them with suspense and thrilling drama, because while the graphics and animations are top-notch, RGT Studio doesn't use that as an excuse to take away the over-the-top action. In fact, their last game, Lost Judgment, improved on the combat, giving you more ways to kick ass. Speaking of ass, anyone notice how most AAA games, mainly developed by the West, usually are afraid to show any ass? And it doesn't stop there. Western devs are such pussies that they are terrified of big breasts, curvy bodies, and pretty faces. What's worse is that some of these female characters are introduced with an appealing design, and when we see them again in the sequels, the devs purposely make them look unappealing. Take Aloy from Horizon Forbidden West for example. Most of these female characters are supposedly in their 20s and 30s, but somehow look like Grandma Gertie from Hey Arnold. With the Yakuza series, however, you get treated to women that, well, look like women. Not only that, but the women in the Yakuza titles don't use the men as punching bags or try to act like a man. They are depicted as attractive, capable women with personalities. One of the main characters, Haruka, has a lot of personality, and despite not being shown fighting men with blood covering her body, she is a well-written and believable character since her introduction in Yakuza 1. If you ask me, Kiryu and Haruka are the real father and daughter duo over Joe and Ellie. If you played the Yakuza games, you'll know the story between Kiryu and Haruka, dating back to 2006. And at least RGT Studio didn't fuck over the characters to push some fake deep message or have you play as Big Papa Pump Abby after hitting a Joel in 1 because white man bad. The combat in the Yakuza games are hard-hitting and deep. Unlock and master new moves as you progress in the crime-driven roller coaster story. Be it the lively neon city of Kamurocho or the large bustling city of Yokohama, You'll be hard-pressed to not get into a combat encounter or stumble upon a side story that by the end of it, you'll want to check out those question marks on the minimap. Let's talk about the map. The Yakuza series don't bother dumping you into a large-ass map just for the devs to boast about how the map is the biggest in all of gaming, while 90% of the world is an empty forest or a desolate wasteland. All the talks of large maps does nothing for a lot of these games. Look at the bloated mess that is Assassin's Creed Valhalla, for example. Because guess what? Sometimes less is more, and Yakuza respects the player's time. Not only is the player's time respected, but so is their intelligence. In the Yakuza series, you don't have to worry about Kiryu, Ichiban, or Yagami hearing a doofy character telling them the solution of a puzzle or how to beat a boss. Thankfully, RGT Studio didn't get the memo of treating the player like a retard in games not rated E. You know that great strategy from devs to release a game for $60 and is filled with bugs and glitches, resulting in a long-winded apology letter on social media? Well, the Yakuza titles don't have that problem. Personally, I never experienced a crash or a game-breaking bug in any Yakuza game. The only negative thing I experienced was a frame rate drop here and there. And that's about it. Imagine that, a game working on release. Unlike many current AAA offerings that love to subvert expectations and fuck up established characters in hopes of getting a pat on the head from Twitter weirdos and activists posing as journalists, posing as gamers, RGT Studio respects the main characters. Kazuma Kiryu is a badass who will go to hell and back to finish his business. He gets dragged into scenarios that sees him face adversity and heartache. But behind all the blood and broken bones, he's a caring man who just wants to live a normal life with the people he considers family. Through it all, Kiryu is never reduced to be some cucked numbskull. He's a man with values who won't act out of character. RGT Studio don't seem interested in making Kiryu or any of the Yakuza games appeal to a modern day audience. Hopefully it stays that way. The music in the Yakuza titles are like an orgasm for your ears. No guitar, string plucking here. Nope. The OST for these games are awesome, ranging from slow-paced suspension to hard-banging, knee-slapping symphonies of testosterone. But if that's not enough for you, there's a karaoke dedicated minigame if that's your kind of thing. But you know, despite all the cutscenes that the Yakuza series have, at least they are not afraid to be a video game. RGT Studio, at least for now, have not turned into safe space loving bitches, and I hope that RGT Studio doesn't forget who they are and why we, the real fans, love their games. We're not interested in pussified modern day trendy hogwash. We want fucking Yakuza games. The series is respected for what they bring to the table, and damn are Yakuza fans eating good right now, with Like a Dragon Ishin coming out in a few months, followed by Like a Dragon Gaiden and Like a Dragon 8. RGT Studio is on a roll right now. They listen to what fans want. You don't have to worry about them putting out a GIF saying hate is gonna hate or calling fans terrorists. Maybe Western devs should get rid of the dyed-haired activists, pronouns-having Fugazi Goombas and get people with passion for what they do. Because it seems like most of these devs are going through the motions. Most current AAA games lack originality and the pulse. While the Yakuza titles are not flawless, they possess quality, passion, and respect for the player. They work on release and have a shit ton of content. The story and characters are well written. None of them are put in the game to send a message. Each release looking visually stunning without having to neuter the combat. It's not slow and gritty. Rather, it's like playing an anime, all while being able to tell gripping stories with layered characters in immersive locations. I'm not asking for Yakuza clones. Well, I actually wouldn't mind that. It would be a nice change of pace from all the Dark Souls clones. But seriously, I'm just asking for development teams to to look at other games for inspiration. Remember, we want fun, engaging games that don't treat us like morons. Not all of us are afraid of attractive women. We like the ability to manually jump and air juggle enemies. Not all of us are obsessed with representation or any of that nonsense. God forbid a game set in Japan is full of Japanese people. Hell, Devil May Cry 5 was a breath of fresh air. Capcom understood what fans wanted and didn't try to reinvent itself. You don't have to try to mimic the MCU or other forms of media to get a wide audience. An audience suffering from an identity crisis, or too busy trying to cancel someone for wrongthink. RGG knows its audience. Yeah, Yakuza 7 went in a different direction with its combat, but aside from the combat, it still felt like a Yakuza game. But RGG didn't leave everyone else hanging. The Judgment games has the traditional combat that further enhanced the brawling experience. I think the real issue is a lot of studios are trying to appeal to the wrong audiences. Studios are willing to lose existing fans in favor of new fans that will care about the game for all the wrong reasons. It's either that or the new crowd will talk a big game on social media but will be nowhere to be found on release day. More development teams should follow suit of what RGG has done with the Yakuza and Judgment series, because we're living in a time where so many developers are hell-bent on selling you golden turds. Hyped for months to only have the cocky devs put out apology letters in hopes of you building anticipation for the next patch update. The same arrogant developers will tell you how deep and mature their games are, but can't trust you enough to solve a puzzle or kill a boss on your own. And if you dare criticize the devs for any of this, the fanboys will take personal offense to it, or the community manager will try to be snarky with you about valid criticism. If you have the time and money, pick up one of the Yakuza games, give them a try, and see what those games do that most of the AAA blockbuster award show games are lacking. Because when I play the Yakuza games, I get a memorable story and characters, fun combat, a shit ton of side content that's not there for the devs to puff their chest out, banging music, and most of all, I get a game that respects me, the player, made by devs that don't have to put up a Kurt Cobain quote in response to criticism. Too many people get caught up in having to like something because everyone else around them tells them to. Pretty graphics and Hollywood voice actors doesn't make a game great, especially when it's at the expense of features being removed, large empty maps, character assassination, or more bugs than a sleazy Las Vegas hotel. But keep telling us about all that quality assurance. Maybe whip up another long-winded patch update to post on Twitter while the clowns give these devs a round of applause for doing their fucking job. Screw that. Give me a game where I play as a badass with a personality that stays consistent, with some brutal combat that's not held down by realism. Characters that are crucial to the story, not there to help me solve puzzles or gets killed off for shock value. And mature content with women that don't look chopped for the sake of, realism. No forced diversity for social media activists. And oh yeah, a game that works on release. Give me Yakuza.